Hello everyone. A very good morning to all of you. Everything in nature goes by law, not by luck. Nature knows no indecencies, but man invents them. Like COVID is teaching nowadays that the force of nature is bigger than the combined force of science and technology. It has given the control back into the hands of nature. We have to keep in mind that at the end of the day, we are merely biological organisms dependent on other organisms for our survival. So our craving to control nature and exploit its all resources for profit can be wiped out in a stroke. Today, we are going to listen to a travelogue written by Tishani Doshi. The name of the travelogue is Journey to the End of the Earth. Let's listen to Journey to the End of the Earth. It is from your book Vistas, chapter number 3. Journey to the End of the Earth is a wonderful travelogue written by Tishani Doshi, which gives an account of her journey to Antarctica, in which there is an insight into the fact that when mankind can visually see glaciers retreating and ice shelves collapsing, one begins to realize that threat of global warming is very real. We cannot feel the impact of the environment sitting in our living room. But when we step in Antarctica, we can understand its reality to the fullest, because there we see the impact of global warming in front of our eyes. This concept has been explained in this chapter. In the first fragment of the chapter, she has introduced the urgency that we must act now and act fast in order to avoid a climate catastrophe. If we want to effectively respond to climate change, we must understand the complex connection that exists between humans and ice. The issues of global warming, pollution of environment, enormous use of limited resources and overpopulation create the threat to the existence of the survival of human race. Any change in the temperature is going to affect the cycle of climate and the food chain. The author feels that a visit to Antarctica is like taking a walk into history. She believes that if you want to know more about our Earth's past, present and future, you need to go to Antarctica. Mrs. Doshi got an opportunity to go to Antarctica in a Russian research ship named Academic Chukalishki. It was going to the coldest, driest and windiest continent in the world. The journey involved the use of car, aeroplane and ship. The journey took over 100 hours to reach there. After a long journey, the writer was wonderstruck, very notably, at the immensity of the whole thing. She wondered how India and this continent were connected 650 million years ago. She also wonders at its vastness and isolation. In the next fragment, she talks how this continent is a part of history. To know this, first of all, you have to know about the Supercontinent Gondwana, which centered around the present-day Antarctica. India and Antarctica were once part of the same landmass. But this landmass was separated into countries and shaped the globe as we know it today. Like you have the US and continent of Africa, means all this was formed from a single continent. and the single landmass was called Gondwana at a time. Next, let's know the history and the author's perspective as to how she views it. First of all, she considers her 2 weeks stay in Antarctica a chilling prospect. Obviously, coming from South India, who lived under the hot sun and experiencing the stark contrast in physical parameters. It's too cold over there. It holds in its ice cores 500,000-year-old carbon records trapped in its layers of ice. The author says that by visiting Antarctica, we can get a grasp of where we have come from and where we could possibly be moving forwards. Then, she compares it to a ping pong ball, which has no fixed dimension. No one can tell us where it starts from and where it ends, because there are no landmarks which can be seen, like trees, billboards, buildings, etc. As landmarks help you to take a left or right to reach to your destination from a certain point. Here is nothing as such. There is silence everywhere, only sound that she could hear of occasional avalanches. In fact, in that sense, it seemed quite pure, quite pristine to her. It is the land of giant blue whales and icebergs as big as the size of Belgium. In the next fragment, author talks about the impact on human being. The phrase human impact means the struggle between man and nature on the future of humankind. Human civilization started about 12,000 years ago. It is a very small period in the history of the earth. But during this short period, there have been disastrous developments. A warm Antarctica will spell doom for mankind. Icebergs will melt and it will raise the levels of ocean and seas. Low-lying regions will submerge under the soaring water. There could be the shortage of drinking water. This will endanger the very existence of life on our planet. Next, she talks about the Students on Ice program, which was headed by Canadian Jeff Green, which aimed at examining the Earth's past, present and future. 52 high school students were taken to the ends of the world because the idea behind this was that students are, after all, the policy makers of the future generation. What they learn today, they will practice it tomorrow. Taking rich, retired and eminent personalities to the end of the earth will serve very little purpose. So, she offered the future generation a lifetime experience at an early age. They are ready to learn and act. And then, besides this, you have the metaphor of phytoplankton, which is a single-celled plant. She has mentioned this plant to make us understand that it sustains the entire food chain in the ocean. If a small single-celled plant, phytoplankton, is not cared of properly, it will lead to killing consequences. It teaches us that life everywhere is connected, and in this context, the old saying holds good. That is, take care of small things and the big things will fall into place. Last, we can head towards the walk on the ocean. It so happened during the author's journey that she was stuck into a thick white stretch of ice between the peninsula and Tadpole Island. The captain declared that they would turn around and go north. But before that, all the 52 members were instructed to get down the ship and walk on the frozen ocean. Underneath their feet was a meter thick ice sheet. Below that was 180 meters of salt water. Seals were sunning themselves on floating ice sheets, much like stray dogs do in the shade of a banyan tree. This scene was nothing short of the revelation of balance in play on this planet. This indicates that life everywhere is connected and is almost the same everywhere. The author further closes the chapter and leaves us on some of the open-ended questions to think, to dwell, and to explain according to her perspective. This is like, how will global warming affect us and the environment? What will happen if global warming makes Antarctica its victim? Or will the Gulf Stream ocean current be disturbed? Thank you very much. You must have understood the chapter. In case of any doubt or query, feel free to ask in the comment section below.